Hey YouTubers, well, I started to put my wheel bearing back together on my Explorer, and I thought, you know what, actually this is a 2004 Mountaineer. The Explorer's Mountaineer, they're all the same. But I thought, I'll go ahead and make a quick video because somebody out there might watch it and want to know how to do this. Basically what you got to do, you got to jack your car up. I'm using a pretty old antique jack. I got it up in the air pretty good. Since I'm not going to have to be laying underneath of it, I'm not going to worry about blocking it up or anything like that. What you got to do is take the tire off. There's a tire. Got it off. And I'm using a impact wrench. These lug bolts that are holding this wheel on, they are 1/2 inch. Are they 1/2 inch? That's a good question. I believe they are. Oh, shoot. Actually, a 3/4 inch nut. I'm using an impact driver. Then what you got to do is get your nut off right here. This nut is I'm using a 30 millimeter socket on it, and I put a little grease here and it comes off pretty good. If you can get an impact wrench, it really makes it easier. If you try to use a big torque bar, a lot of times I've breaking torque bars trying to get this nut off, but that comes off like that. And once you get that off, you take your brake caliper and your piece here off. There's a couple of bolts back here that hold the brake calipers on, and there's a brake caliper, and these two bolts here come off. And these are little 15s. They just kind of go on there, and once you get this broke loose from the rotor, I'll take a screwdriver and basically kind of spread the shoes apart a little bit. I'll stick it in here, and that way this will get this off the rotor pretty easy, and you can just kind of let this hang down a little bit. And this piece here that holds the brake shoes on, there's some bolts back here in the back. You got to take those off, and they are pretty good size, and here they are. And they are actually 18. It's an 18 socket. Let's see. Yes, there's my socket. I believe that's my socket. Where did it go? I'm always, there it is. I could be making myself out of a liar today. Let's see. Is it 15? Oh, there it is. There's an 18. Well, there's an 18 wrench. I use the socket wherever it is here. It's around here somewhere. But you take these two out, and this will come right out that holds your brake shoes. Then you're good to go. Then you can take off your wheel bearing. Now to take your wheel bearing off, what I do is push this axle in a little bit like this and get a 15 socket. And there's my little 15 ratchet and socket. It doesn't have to be anything too big. And if I can get the camera in there, there's two bolts in there. There's one right there. I usually just kind of stick the socket on the bolt like this and kind of get it in there like that. And I have a little short piece of pipe that I use that I put on the ratchet. And I kind of break the bolts loose that way. What really helps a lot is I'll put a little bit of grease up here. I have a grease can for some used oil. I'll squirt grease on these three bolts. There's one there. Let's see, one on the bottom right there, if you can see where my finger is, and one down here on the bottom. It make it a little easier. You might want to turn the wheel to actually get your socket in there. I'm using just a little extension, nothing really too big, because these bolts, let's see, that you take off, they're only 15. They're not very big. And there's my old ones right here. They are, see, they're not really that big, so you don't need a really big socket on it. And just to show you, there's the 15 socket, and there's the bolt that holds the wheel bearing on. Now, how I got myself into this job, well, I was driving it, and about 65, I kind of get off the edge of the road, and I could feel it kind of pulling a little bit, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I thought, well, I probably need tie rod ends. So we're tie rod ends. They came today, and I thought, well, I'll go and stick them on real quick. First thing I did is jacked it up. I shook the wheel, found out my old wheel bearing here is no good. Luckily, I had a wheel bearing I just ordered. I was going to use on my 02 Ford Explorer. Turned out it was okay. It was actually the tie rod ends were bad. But here is the wheel bearing, and I don't know if I can get the camera here, but listen to this. It ain't supposed to make any noise, and you can see it. Look at this. It moves. I don't know if you can you see that? Let me back it up a little bit. It's moving around. Not supposed to do that. So, turns out this is bad, and I just replaced it. So, hopefully, this will end my little bit of a pulling I had off to the side. So basically, once you put it back in there, You put your wheel bearing up here and you push this axle in a little bit, and you start your new bolts in the back side here. On the back side, you tighten it down and you're good to go. And of course, most new front wheel bearings, they give you the ABS and all that, so I'm going to go ahead and wire this up there. But that's it. Then you put your rotor back on first, then you put your brake caliper thingy, I forget what you call this today. I usually know what this is called, but this goes on next. And you put your new, and they give you new bolts, which are right here for that. So basically they give you 2 new bolts for your brake caliper system, and they give you 3 bolts to hold the new wheel bearing on. At least the parts I got these on eBay from a dealer. So that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this back together, and I figured I'd show you guys how to do this real quick. Maybe somebody will use this video and say, hey, glad this guy did a video on this, because I got to do mine today. What you want to do first, jack it up and shake your wheel. Make sure it's not a tie rod end, and if you do tie rod ends, at least it's easy access. But definitely check your wheel bearings, because they do go bad. And this one did not make any noise at all, which was kind of strange. It was quiet driving. If I hadn't taken it off and jacked it up and shucked that wheel, I would have never known. So just so you know, advice tip for today. All right, thanks for watching, everyone, and good luck, and be careful. And also, one other thing, if you want to save your ABS sensor, I am using a little, let's get this little tiny bolt you take off. It's on the side of this. I'm keeping my ABS sensor because it was okay, and it actually screws in right there. It's a 5-star Allen type socket. Here is the kit that I have. You might want to get one of these. And this size on this one is 5mm. This is what I'm using. So just so you know, in case you want to, it's always good to keep parts at work, because you never know when you need them, especially if it's a Sunday and nothing's open. All right, enough rambling on. Good luck, guys, and take care.